Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's awesome guest is Jaime B. Haas, who is known to her clients as the soul surgeon. She has a really unique and deep approach that helps her clients who have hit rock bottom heal their wounds, and it works better than any kind of therapy. We had a great conversation, some good laughs, and she gave some tips to those of us who have not hit rock bottom. So let's go and say hello to Jaime. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhige, health coach and personal trainer and founder of highenergygirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Give a woman a fish, feed her for a day. Teach a woman to fish, feed her for a lifetime. Teach a woman to teach a woman to fish, end world hunger. Have you ever wanted to help people improve their health journey? Have you thought about coaching people with a keto lifestyle? Would you like to become an integrative health coach? Well, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, or IIN as we call it, is the largest nutrition school in the country. And in 2011, I graduated from their program and became a health coach. It was completely awesome. We learned over 100 different dietary theories and talk about craziness and confusion. My wish for you is that we can lock arms and create a tribe of health coaches all around the country, all around the world to spread the keto message. If this resonates with you and you would like to look into this option deeper, please go to my blog at highenergygirl.com and click on the link to the right of the homepage. Here you can grab the curriculum guide and see if it inspires you. Since I care so much about my listeners, I negotiated the very best tuition rate for you at IIN. Either you can contact them directly and give them my name, or I will introduce you to a counselor so you can decide if this is a good fit for you and your career goals. Let me know how I can support you in this coaching career opportunity. Hey, Jaime, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Tracy, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. So for the listeners that don't know about you yet, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Okay. So I'm called the soul surgeon. I have a method and a workbook and a process that helps you find the exact thinking and behaviors that you are doing rooted from childhood pain, wounding, and trauma, so that we can find exactly what you're doing to keep yourself stuck and sabotaged. And when we can find that, we can find the exact solution to get you out and start to heal and change your life.
Cool. So how did you get to that part? That's deep, and you look really young. So I'm curious.
I'm 53.
Oh, wow. You look good, girl.
Thank you. It's all that meditating and healthy food, right? And working out. No, so I actually came up with this because I was the guinea pig, actually. Like at 40, I had hit a really bad bottom. And I was in a place where it was like, okay, do I want to take myself out of here, or like something's got to change? And at that point, I had done a lifetime of work on myself, like literally. I've been in therapy since I'm 6. On and off for years. I'm sober. So I had done, a decade of 12-step programs with a plethora of self-help books and yoga and psychics and healers. And I still wasn't okay. Like my life was still bringing in unhealthy, abusive work, friendships, and relationships. And I was still ending up, as I would call it, old and alone. So I was like, something's really wrong. Something's really wrong. And I finally realized it's not outside of me, it's within me. And so the message divine guidance came in and was like, you have to go deeper. And I was like, oh my God, what does that even mean deeper? I thought I had already done that. And so for the next 2 years, I went on a quest to find the solution, because I couldn't accept that this was my life, right? So through a concoction of many modalities and divine guidance, I found the answer. I got the solution. And then people were like, oh my God, what did you do? Because everyone around me had noticed there was a drastic change like within me. And then things outside of me were different, showing up differently. And so enough people kept asking, like, what did you do? So I sat down and I wrote my workbook. And then from that, I got my first client. And then they've all been coming for 6.5 years by word of mouth only.
Wow, that's fabulous.
Thank you.
So, I want to kind of dig in here, right, to get a little deeper. So, where do you start in this type of a process?
You have to be really at the bottom to want to work with me. I can say that, because it's really deep work. It's not therapy. We're not sitting and talking about the problem. I think that you really have to be in a place where you're willing to do anything to change, because the things I'm going to have you do could be scary and painful. But if you're coming from the bottom, you're like, cool, I'll do anything to get out of this pain. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's the starting point, is when nothing or most things are not working out for you.
Okay. So what if you're not there? What if you're coasting along and feeling good and you don't I believe that everybody can use tweaking and guidance and going more within. That is exactly what I think is important. What would you tell that individual?
Okay. So listen, my method, there's plenty of things that you can get to help yourself. And I realized, I'll just say this. I realized that in finding and creating this method was that it wasn't just one thing that did it. That was the answer. It was a concoction of many things, when done all together, created the secret sauce of change, right? So it's like I found that in the root of all of the problems or challenges that all of us have, it's a lack of self-love and no connection. Like a lack of self-love and no connection, right? Coupled with then limiting beliefs, negative thinking patterns, and all this other stuff, which is my mojo that I do. But, so the self-love stuff is like a boost, a change for everyone, because if we're not loving ourselves, then we tend to seek outside fixes and outside validations for our well-being. And when we do that, what happens is that we leave ourselves, we get further away from ourselves, and then we're seeking even more and more and more to just get to a state of like comfort, right? That could be love, it could be over exercising, it could be overworking, it could be any kind of addictions, social media, checking out. Like, it's like we're in a world that, outside validation has been promoted as, the fix. But truly, that's why we have so many issues, is because we're not connected to ourselves. Because the more we love ourselves, the more love we can bring to the world, the more healthy we are showing up, the better the world gets.
Yeah, the vibration that you put out will benefit everybody that you walk by, everybody that is in your space. Yeah, I like that. So just because I'm thinking that most of the listeners aren't at rock bottom.
Okay. Yeah.
I like the idea that if you are, this is what you do, but what if you're not? And what could you do to improve your life using all of the beautiful work that you've already created?
Yes. Okay. I will answer that. So, the ideal situation is that they're at that place, but I have some people that weren't in that much pain, but things were not working out or they thought that things weren't that bad, like things were okay. And so, the one thing, and on my website, I have a free download of the 5 habits. And so that's the beginning of, I have 10 foundational actions that my clients have to do every day and every week, because there is homework. And so the 5 of them are like the most profound. I'll give you a little clue as to what they are in a second, because this can help anybody. And so a lot of people feel like, oh, I've done this, blah, blah, blah. But the way there's motive behind everything I prescribe. And there's a specific way I prescribe it. And when it's done together, it creates, as I said, this special result. So, the number one thing, which I'm happy to share, and later, if people want to go get the download, is fine. But this is like really can help anybody, which is journaling, like first thing in the morning, journaling. But this is different. It's not writing a thesis. It's not writing the story of your life. Like you can do that separately. I have them write out their negative thoughts, their fears and anxieties, like get it out. And write it all out, like get it out of your head. Because as you're talking about energy and frequency, we could talk about manifesting and all that stuff, because all of my work is based in manifesting. It's just that I first manifest healing and then we dreams. But, when you are in a state where your mind is very busy and full, and that could be for anybody, right? Because a lot of us gets that place where we get full. That if manifesting law of attraction, the secret states, everything that we think about and focus on the most is what we bring in. So if we're waking up with a head full of stuff, and then we're not emptying our head and filling it with positive stuff that we want to direct it with, then we are sending out into the world this frenetic anxiety, fear-based energy, negative energy, right? And what happens is that then we start getting fragments of all this other stuff coming back at us. So even for the most well person, so to speak, like, it's like, I just feel like for me, even today, and I do my work all the time. It's like, this really helps keep me clean and fresh every day, because it lets me create the day instead of be the receiver, aimless receiver, right? Of like stuff I don't want.
Right.
So I feel like, that's a number one thing. And then the other thing I say, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to get rid of this stuff and put it on the paper and affirm that. But you got to get it out, because when you empty it out of your head, it creates space then for you to fill it with something else. One. And two is when you write it down, then I tell my people or whatever to write down a positive statement to end it with, to kind of seal the deal with. So write down a positive statement, and, or if you have a very powerful train of thoughts that are negative or fear-based, write the opposite positive and then start saying that. Those will be your new affirmation. So that's this new story, the new program you want to create.
So can you give me an example of what that might look like specifically? Like, what is a good example that you see a lot of?
Okay. So some of my clients, don't really feel good about themselves. Like they just don't feel good about themselves. They don't think they're good enough. They have a lot of judgments about themselves. And then they're always in fear. Nothing's going to work out. I mean, this is like the top stuff. Nothing's ever working out. Nothing's going to work out for me, blah, blah, blah. So like they can write the whole negative story or whatever it is. And then it's really like, I love myself just as I am, and that like, it's going to be okay. My favorite one is everything's working out. I just don't know how, but I know that it is. And it's going to be a great day. And like, even just sending that intention is better than whatever was going on in their head. Right. Because then it's like open to possibilities.
Yeah.
Does that make, yeah.
Oh, totally. And you said that so many people don't love themselves. Why do you think that is?
So, I feel like, once again, it really is, the society has been based upon, and it's gotten worse thanks to social media and Instagram, that, the bar is at a place that feels very unrealistic. And so I do have a lot of clients that really do the compare and despair thing, right? So like they're basing their well-being on if they're matching up to this bar that's just not realistic. So I feel like, listen, it's healthy to have nice things. It's great to like be successful and abundant and live in that way. However, when you start making that the bar of like your worth, that's a problem. That's a problem. Like my worth is only based on if I can look like her, if I can have that shoe, if I can have that car, if I can have that thing, then I'll be okay. And so, but the issue and the craziness is that once you get whatever that is, then you just want something else. So it's like, it's a forever nonstop, unending chase of like the infamous thing. So we know that that can't be the answer. It just can't be, right? That's part of evolution and growth and whatever it is, but it's not who you are inside. And who you are inside is actually the most important, right? Because if you're connected to yourself, you really love yourself. It's like those things are nice, but they don't make you who you are, and they don't fix you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So
of course.
Right. So I feel like, society, which is actually changing right now because we are in a spiritual revolution, actually, thank God, is changing. And, the stories are crumbling and like we're all being forced to really look at self.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like we're on the same team, girl. The Great Awakening.
That's right.
I love that. You just totally gave me chills when you said all of that. One of our I'm in a big organization of about 20,000 international humanitarians all over. And one of our biggest teachings is go within. So when I saw your info come by, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to talk to her. So where everybody's looking outside themselves for pleasure. And that also you touched on at the beginning about relationships. And can you talk a little bit more about the focus on relationships?
Sure. Okay. So this is a multifaceted answer.
Sure. Well, we have multifaceted relationships, so I get it.
Oh, but by the way, I just want to touch on, I love the fact that you're in this humanitarian group, and I love that their motto is go within. So thank you. I just want to say
I'll send you some info via email because
I love that. Okay. So, nobody wants to hear this, but the truth is that every relationship is a reflection of how you feel about yourself and what you think about yourself. So fortunately and unfortunately, that's the beginning of the problem and the solution. So I could start with that. And so, there's all different friendships, right? Sometimes the love relationship isn't as bad as the friendships and the work relationship. So it's like there's just all these different dynamics of different relationships all over the place in the family and whatever it is. But, one of my mottos and belief systems is when you are in a state of woundedness, you will continue to bring in people and situations to reaffirm the wound, which means to take you back to the pain to make that true, which means that if you are still in pain around love, you don't trust men or you don't trust women, and you have a lot of anger towards them, well, then you're going to end up bringing in situations to keep that belief system, that old wounding come true, right? And so it can go with friendships too. Listen, I had a lot of issues with women most of my life. So like, then I would keep bringing in these relationships that just, they weren't safe. Women weren't safe, right? Because I had this fear about it. So it's like that, or like in work, I'm never heard, I'm not important, I'm never going to get blah, blah, blah. So then you show up in work and then people don't want to hear you, so you can't get far. You're like, people treat you terrible. You're being abused. And so it's really powerful that it is within you, which means that there is a solution, but we always keep thinking, all my clients, including myself before I did this, that it's like, it's the other person. Like if they would just be different, if they could just change and do this, then I'd be okay. Then it would work, And instead I teach my clients that it's like, we show up to every situation and every person to be of service, but being of service by being kind and loving, listening and observing. Because when we listen and observe, people show us who they are. Then we can decide what we're going to do based on the facts, not on the potential of someone, not on what we want from them, but on who they really are. And like, that is what I call true empowerment.
Yes, indeed. And I love how you said that, because sometimes we just let that fear get in the way of reality. Have you heard of the thing, facts versus meanings? You just reminded me of that. Like, the fact is after you get to know them, right? And the meaning is what you choose to get it. But it's also personal responsibility is what you're saying. Like, take personal responsibility instead of putting the blame out there. I love the quote by Darren Hardy: "You alone are responsible for everything you do, everything you don't do, and every way you respond to what is done to you."
Yes, that's great.
Trying to teach that to my kids.
Well,
I understand.
I understand.
Yeah,
well, I love that. And, I feel like it's so complex, right? Because it's based on like where we came from, the family dynamic, like how our parents treated each other, how they treated us, how they treated other people, the stories and programming we got from that, and then what's happened to us at a younger age, right? So then we have all these stories and programs now ingrained in our soul, and our soul is a recorder of all events, right? And memories. And for some reason, which is, I still ponder over this, it's like we always tend to connect to the negative more than the positive. And it's like we build these programs for ourselves and react to the world according to them. And so, that's a lot of my work, is finding what those programs and stories are, because until we can get to the root of that, we can't make real change. Like we can do top line stuff of like basic affirmations or basic, manipulative behaviors, but like that doesn't create the real change. Because what I found is that the real change has to come from within. And the way that happens is by doing it differently and thinking and seeing it differently.
Interesting. Like, what do you mean? How do you see it differently? Like, how would you reframe that with a directive?
Okay. So, if a lot of my clients are people pleasers, right? That's like a big theme. And what that means is that, they didn't get their needs met when they were little. And so they didn't get heard and seen. They didn't get the love. They didn't get the attention. They didn't get the support. And so they go out in the world thinking, if I please, if I just do for you, I can get you to like me. I can get the love, and then I can finally feel heard and finally feel cared for. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's just a literal breakdown of like how it rolls out. But the issue is that they do that. They're not authentic. They're not honest. They're not in their truth, and that they're in fear. And so when you're coming at that, they show up and then they are not being authentic, honest, kind and loving, they're in fear. And so all of that energy goes out, and energetically, the other person can feel the pressure to like me, save me, fix me, or they can feel the pressure of they're not being honest. So it doesn't feel safe. So it's like this whole ping pong game of like, psychological warfare. When it's like, my motto is show up honest, authentic, and in your truth, because that's your magnet and your protection.
Yeah. And then when you are in your truth, you never have to forget what you say.
Right. Exactly. Right. Exactly. But once again, because people who don't want the truth, who don't want to be authentic, who don't want to be honest, don't want to be with someone who talks to them that way, who is that way in that energy, right? So the protection is they leave because they're not vibrationally matching up, which is a gift, Because then,
Well, thank you
right,
for saying that.
right. Well, because a lot of my clients get in their head and they want to like read the room or read people. And I'm like, you don't need to do any of that. If you just show up listening and observing in your truth, everyone will show you, like, because then they're not present. I mean, it's like, it's this whole thing, right? Where the whole solution is to be connected to your body, be present, be honest, authentic, and like everything will be revealed. And then you can make
Mhm.
decisions based on the truth.
Yes. And then it gives you the opportunity to create boundaries that you need that are real to protect your energy.
Yes.
Because I think that's important too. You know, it's like not everyone is for everyone. Not everybody's going to be your friend.
No.
I've definitely seen that in the last couple of years based on what
Yes.
you just said, actually.
Yes. And so, but that's, as painful as it is, like even with dating, it's like, my one client this morning was like, he's not calling me back. He didn't text me back and blah. And I said, well, do you want to start moving forward and getting involved with someone who is not responding to you the way you want to be responded to, doesn't care about getting back to you? And it's fine, like that. Like is that really what you want to create? Because you have a choice right now. Like before you're going any further on this and getting emotionally attached, you can make a choice. This is not what I want, because every time we say what we don't want, say no to what we don't want, we get closer to what we do want. Energetically, right? Within ourselves and into the universe. So it's like, I love saying no to what I don't want, because then I know I'm so much more clear on what I do want. And I'm like, oh, because then when you can feel that, what you really want, you get more closer, bring that in.
The contrast. Yeah, it helps. That's awesome. So what do you think is so say for instance, our listeners are, in their 50s and they are health seekers, always trying to improve themselves. And they are like, I really am into what they're talking about right now. And what are a couple tips that besides the journaling, but what things do you feel like are just the tipping point to get people started in the self-discovery?
So, it's a multifaceted. Well, I think there's a lot of multifaceted answers here, but I feel like it's like, how can I get closer to know myself? Like, I feel like if that's the process they want to get into, I feel like the journey begins with self. And so it's like, how can I get to know me more? How can I get to like myself more? How can I get to myself, appreciate myself more? Like, what are more things about me that I like that I can explore? Right. That's a big one I really would suggest. Like, it's because once again, as we said, like everything is a reflection of what's going on here. So the more you give to yourself, the more that goes out in the world, the more it brings back that to you. Right. So, and another one, which everyone talks about, is like meditating. It's really, but also the next level of meditating for me with my clients is really getting quiet. Like, I don't even know, because sometimes meditating takes you away from your body. But I like to have my clients sit in 2 minutes of quiet and kind of just connect within and get into the pause, what I call the pause. Because the pause is where we can connect to ourselves and make a different decision instead of react. We can observe.
Ooh, I like that. But what you just said was really good, because what I've learned recently is that when we meditate and we're outside of ourselves, we create a space for negative energy to come in. So what I've learned from one of my amazing teachers is that instead of, like what you just said, instead of going like meditating and just creating that space to fill, just go within and be and feel yourself. And so that's really cool that you said that.
Thank you. Like 2 minutes. It's on the 5 habits that I was talking about, but it's like, I even have my clients just put your hands on your heart because it brings you back into your body, and take like 5 deep breaths and just go into the quiet. Go into the quiet. Because like that's the place where we can also like connect to our body, see what's going on in our body, like where are we feeling uncomfortable, how can we calm and soothe ourselves, like and really just getting quiet. Because I don't know if you know, but like our mind, our ego works against us. It really does. And so this busy stuff that goes on, like I don't know about you, but for me and all my clients, our mind tends to wants to find what's wrong about us, like the negative things or what's wrong, and like focus on these fear-based things. And so like if we could just turn it off for a little bit and get into the practice of turning it off and connecting within, the more practice you get at having the power to get into the pause. So you can separate from this stuff to actually be in the truth, because this is not the truth. The busy is not the truth.
I love the quote. I love quotes, but somebody said recently, we are human beings, not human doings.
Yes. Yeah. I love that one too.
I'm like, that was a good one. But I like that. And we live in California. It's busy land, especially down by where you are. But it's people are always multitasking, and then they're not doing anything 100% because your brain can't focus on more than one thing at a time. So you're half-assing everything if you're trying to be multitasking. Yes. And I'm guilty of it. I mean, I'm totally guilty of it, but I think the secret is to catch yourself and pivot faster, and when people go off on the negative tangents about themselves, it's like you just, like you said, you bring more negative things about yourself when that's what your focus is.
Yes. And so once again, like, I feel like I'm really big on routine. I'm really big on like, a morning routine and practice, because then it becomes a habit. Right. And in the, sitting in the quiet and taking like, I prefer 10 deep breaths, because then you can really get out of your head. If you just do that every day as a practice for like 30 days, which the 5 habits ask you to do, it's like, you'll just start doing it automatically. When things start getting like that, you'll know, oh, this doesn't feel right. It's out of alignment. It's making me crazy. I'm going to just breathe, because we can take a big, deep breath at any time during the day, throughout the day, to just disconnect and reconnect to self. Yes.
So go back to that whole, you said something about ego. And I know that a lot of people live in their head, and it's better for us to live in our heart. I was talking to my husband about this the other day, because he just had surgery, and long story. But I was talking about how in our head, we have our inner child, our inner critic, and our inner ego. But in our heart, we have our intuition. So up here, we have stressed out, worry, fear, anger, frustration. Here we have love, joy, peace, health, happiness, prosperity, just all things good. So can you talk a little bit about how you help your clients move from up here down here, besides the 10 breaths, but how like to live from here so it becomes a habit? Also, what your routines are as a professional and, doing what you do. I bet those would be really helpful and interesting to learn.
Okay. So I'll answer the first question first. So once again, those 5 habits are a big help, because once again, the journal dump, the 2 minutes of quiet breathing, then I have them fill up with affirmations, hugs, and self-care. So like, those are all things to get you out of your head. Continuing on into the process, I believe in a spiritual practice. So I'm very adamant about connecting to some kind of spiritual practice. So if that's the universe, if that's God, if that's your team of light, infinite power, whatever that is, there has to be something, because that opens up the channels to like the infinite, right? Because otherwise, if we're in our mind, everything's finite and small and has a lot of power. But if we connect to our heart and now we're connecting to universal power, we are now like in a place of like unsurmountable power and connection, right? So it changes the perspective. And I feel like the other thing is like, helping other people. I mean, the fastest way out of my head is to help others. Help others. Go do something to help someone else, even if it's just smile. Like go out in your day and start smiling at everybody. Like it's just that takes you out of your head, brings you into your present, and like really that's what the world's about, right? Is like helping other people, being of service to some degree. So I feel like those tools, just on a basic touch up here on what your question was, I feel like spiritual practice, helping others is another way out of your head.
So spiritual practice. So, I used to be a total Bible thumping mama. Kids went to Christian school. I taught youth group for years and, all of that. But I've since learned that a lot of that stuff has been manipulated. And, way long time ago in the 4th century, with Emperor Constantine, how he changed everything. And I was like, oh, just like most everything else we've learned is complete fraud.
That's correct.
So yeah, I figured you knew about all this stuff, but it's hard for some people to accept. And I find especially men, because of their ego, they don't want to prove, or they don't want to admit that they've been fooled all the time. My husband's the worst. Like he's just not waking up. Anyway, so why was I telling you that? Oh, what type of spiritual practice? Like what would you recommend somebody to do? Because all these things that you've already said seem like a very spiritual practice. So how do you open yourself up specifically?
Okay, but I do want to touch on the man and the closed-minded people. Okay, so because I actually work with a lot of men. And so I feel like now that we're like on this next level conversation, some people are not ready to wake up. And it's not, I'll talk about myself. It's not my job to like force feed you the truth.
Right.
So I slowly help people find who they really are authentically, get a real connection with source, and tap into their own divine intuition. That's part of my program. And that way they can find the truth on their own. But I'm leading them to the light. Because I feel like, if some people found out some of the stuff that you and I both know, they would have a heart attack. Like it would be just too overwhelming and scary, right? Because it's profoundly off the charts what you and I are talking about here. So I feel like, it's a slow infusion. And I feel like some of my women are more stubborn than my men, actually, on that level, right? So it's like, so I just want to say, it's just like, I keep leading people to the water to find that within themselves and be led from their own divine guidance, right? But I keep leading them there. And I am that. Like, I already believe I'm on the bus with you, right? On the bus of truth. So, and unfoldment. And we are the light bringer. We are the light bringers. We are here to bring the light, right? And so it's just a matter of, I try to do it in a soft and gentle way and let people have an unfoldment of their own. So that's what I'll say about that. Spiritual practice. So, if we want to get all the way there, so I feel like, my practice in the morning is, I wake up at like 5:15 before my son, who's 7, and the dogs and everything else. And I, come into my office and I just start like, I wake up before I even get out of bed and I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's going to be a great day full of infinite possibilities and miracles. I work for you, God. Show me how to be of service to you and all your children today. And then I come in here and I get onto the computer and I start doing some meditating. And I do a bunch of different stuff. I actually have been tapping into my own abilities. So I am clairaudient. So I get downloads of information right now. And so I get a lot of messages. And so I'm working more on those abilities. I do have psychic and intuitive abilities. I mean, since we're going all the way here. So
bring it.
And I've been told that I can be a full channel where they can speak through me. So I'm actually actively working on that as another facet of my business. My clients love my messages I get for them because I get direct messages. I get different messages than a lot of other channelers. I get very specific information for people. I can read into people's thoughts and feelings and stuff. So I can get into your thought processes. And so I do a lot of also spiritual practices based on that. So I do I'm practicing right now some light language because that's supposed to activate you more. I'm not going to get too weird on everybody, but
I'm going to recommend a book to you that you might have heard of from Eve. Have you heard of a book? Let me see the name of it. But I think you'll like it. My new teacher has told me to read it, and I haven't recommended it to very many people because he is pretty special. And the fact that like a lot of the people that we work with, it's called Wisdom of the Feathered Serpent.
No, I don't know that, but it sounds fabulous.
Yeah, you might. I think that you would like it because she's basically doing what you're telling me.
Yeah.
That you want to do.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Now all the listeners are going to hear that book. That is just for Jamie.
well, listen, I feel like, we all have the ability to tap into our own intuitive ability, right? Every one of us on earth, whether we believe it or not, whether we're bought into the system right now and closed off or not, we all have the ability to tap into our own intuitive abilities. And so part of my method is to help people tap into that for themselves. So I have a whole thing I do, which is, I can't really share that. It's because it's a little bit more complex than just do this, this, and this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I have to dig into the old beliefs around and your old experiences around control and not being taken care of first before we can even get to connecting. I do a lot of heart brain coherence type of things because our heart is actually the direct line up to the universe. So the more we can connect to our heart and breathe in and do that, the more we're connecting to the divine. So, I do a lot of that, and I have my clients do a lot of that. So I feel like it's, but whatever works for everybody is their own thing. I don't know. I feel like it's just the journey there is your own, but, and
that evolves, right?
It evolves.
It changes. Like I used to do major Bible study every morning and then, just devotionals, and now I do other things. So I hear you. That's cool. You are super fun.
Thank you.
So let's go back to the workbook, and for the people who are listening that really are indeed seeking help. What are the first steps that you want them to do? Like, how do you want them to reach out to you? Things like that.
Okay. So I want to just say that, patterning is what I do, right? So I find the negative patterning, the negative thinking and negative behaviors that you're doing. So if you are finding that you are in like a spiral cycle of like ending up with the same end result, it could be a different name and a different face, but the endings always seem to be the same. Like you end up in the same kind of pain, and you're wondering what that is. That's called a pattern. That's pattern thinking. You're bringing back, old wounding, negative belief, limiting belief systems from your childhood, and you're recreating them again. Then you are in patterning. That is my mojo. That is like what I do. So if that is you and you want to end those things, you don't have to be in excruciating pain, but it's always good if you are because
then you're willing.
Then you're willing to do the things that you need to do. But, I give you the solutions on how to get out of this exactly. Like I find your exact thinking, the exact behaviors, and I give you the exact solution and the exact thinking out. So it's like, it can't get any better than that. Okay, just wanted to state that. And everything we do is written, and it's like, it's a 1 + 1 = 2. So all my clients that like practical, exact, methodical stuff, this is for you. Okay, so if you are interested, please go to my website and get that 5-habit download, even if you don't want to work with me, because it can help you no matter where you're at. So go get that. And if you are interested, you can go to my website, read more, and fill out the contact form, and I'd love to talk to you. My website is www.jaimebhaas.com. I spell my name, Jaime, B as in boy, and Haas, HAAS.com. And I'd love to hear from you. And I'd love for you to get that free download and just get some extra help.
Awesome. Oh, look at your website. That's a cute, is that a dress that you're wearing?
Which picture?
White. It's white.
The top
long
picture?
Sleeve. Yeah.
It's a shirt.
Wow. Is that cabbie?
I think I don't remember. It's a wrappy thing in the front. Like it has a knot in the front. Yeah.
Super cute. Okay. I always like to do that. I always like to go on different people's websites. So here we go. Start your journey today. Download 5 daily habits. Awesome. Okay, this is cool. And what about, you said earlier about Instagram. Can people find you on social media? What's your handle?
Oh, I'd love for you to go to my Instagram. I do a lot of, and YouTube. I do a lot of videos on specific problems and give you solutions. I love giving solutions. And all my posts are really focused on giving solutions and hope. So it's Jaime B. Haas on Instagram.
Okay,
right? Same. It's really easy. and on YouTube, it's Jaime B. Haas again. Just make sure you spell my name right, which is JaimebHaas.
What's your middle name? Oh, there you are. You came up right away.
Oh, okay, great.
What's your middle name?
Well, the B now is like my maiden name, so it would be Bernstein, but I just like the B.
Oh, yeah. I love the Soul Surgeon. It is a great brand. And so do you have a workbook, and then do you also have a book that you're working on? Or
Yes. So I have my workbook. I am, and hopefully soon, going to work on some online courses, because I'd love people to be able to get my work. And if they want to, not afford to work with me, it's really a great way to be able to offer help to everybody. And I'm also working on a book right now, hopefully to come out soon. I think there'll be a few books, but right now we're working on one in particular. Yeah.
Do you have a title yet?
No.
Okay. So people can find it if they subscribe to your email, right?
Eventually when it comes out. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. That is great. I want to thank you so much, Jaime, for coming on today. You are an absolute doll, and it has been super fun hanging out with you today.
Thank you so much. I love, those of us that are on the same journey, same place, soul connection. I thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. You're amazing.
Oh, no, you're amazing. Okay, that was super fun. I hope you enjoyed the show. We talked about so many things. I really enjoyed it. So for complete show notes and links to Jaime's website, please head on over to highenergygirl.com/show. Thank you for listening. Make it a great day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.